Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, we've just had news of the champions that are going to be involved in the 10 times this weekend. So, firstly, I dropped a video earlier. You might have seen it already. We have got a different form of event happening from tomorrow. Yeah, this Path of Spring event is going to come with a kind of summoning element. So, some people are going to want to summon, because you also get out of this event a 5-star Perfect Soul for Razelvard. Probably if you're kind of wailing pretty hard with shards, I would think. Might be that you can get it through artifacts and accessories. We will find out tomorrow. But this is like to handpick somebody's soul and get it 5-star is significant if it's someone you're going to use. So that's kind of like a bit of a first and a bit of a wow moment, honestly, from Raid's perspective here. Imagine if you could just handpick one legendary on your account and say, I want the 5-star Perfect Soul. Like, that's massive. So hopefully they do kind of think along those lines for the future. Anyway, we've got a whole bunch of absolute nukes in this ×10 that's going to go alongside this. I know, for example, my main is pulling shards. My main is pulling shards tomorrow. So let's go through the champions that are up for grabs. There's no bad champions here. There's no bad ones on the list. That's the start. So if you're just like I pull it when I got it, Freddy, then this is going to be a good weekend for you. Here we go. Magnarr is the first on the list. One of the kings of the HP nuke. Cool thing about HP-based champions that are nukers is you don't need any setup. Yeah, you can't do increase HP. They also can't do decrease HP to you. So your damage remains really consistent, irrelevant of what the enemy's trying to do to you. The downside with an HP nuker is they generally, because you can't buff them, you generally don't get as much damage. But Magnarr stands out, especially for an epic, as someone who can actually pull his own weight. So he's got an A1 with drop defense on it. Becomes 100% drop defense if there is a burn out there. He doesn't do burns himself. So you either pair him with a burner and enhance his kit, or you don't and you get him to be Mr. Nuke. So there's kind of two options with a Magnarr. The A2 here is the AoE. This is where his damage comes from. It's on a 3 turn, which is quite short. He gets an extra hit if there are no burns. So if there's no burner in the team, he hits twice. And it's an extra hit, which really scales his damage. If there are burns, he's actually got a decent chance of placing a stun instead. So if you're doing something like a spider strat and you've got a burner, he can come in as your crowd control with stuns. So he's kind of got double usage, a bit like a Trunda, which is cool. His A3 here is a debuff spread. It hits reasonably hard as well. Applies a debuff spread to 2 random debuffs as long as there are burns out there. So again, this one is enhanced by burns, but the A2 is where his nuke comes from. He's got a passive as well where he heals for 1% for every burn ticking away. So yeah, this is a cool kit. It's got defense in Doom Tower, which is okay. But yeah, Magnarr is a really good epic to pick up. Second one on the list actually was in my top 10 OP epics from yesterday. That's going to be Husk. Husk has really kind of risen to fame because of his Hydra ability, but was always good anyway. He's got an enemy max HP nuke on the A2. Probably doesn't really fall in line with some of these other ones in terms of the way they're used. This is definitely a PvE champion. AoE stun is decent for any wave-based content. The enemy max HP is great for bosses, but especially good for Hydra because it's an AoE hit. The A1's also got a provoke, so you can provoke with this double hit and try and get the head of decay under wraps. The A3 hits reasonably hard as well, and it's got damage based on HP, but a lot of people just turn the A3 off to try and get back to the A2 as often as possible and just use the A1 as a provoker against Hydra. But Husk, decent champion as well, really good. Another great epic, probably already guessed who it's going to be, honestly. Royal Guard. So similar to Husk, he's an enemy max HP nuker rather than an arena nuker. This skill here is A2, similar to Husk, enemy max HP nukage, Hydra, any bosses. He gets himself into some cool finite teams because he's also got a 4-hitter on the A3 with decreased speed on it and turn meter drop. This is great for Dark Fae as well. He gets into a lot of end game teams because he can nuke waves and he can do some cool stuff to bosses. So Royal Guard, one of the OGs really of the nuke. My first ever Void epic is number 4. So the Void champion here is going to be Skullcrown, still extremely strong. Particularly lower level stuff. Like if you're mid-game and you've got Skullcrown, she is just annoying in the arena. She can really pack a punch. She's hard to kill because she's got this unkillable built-in passive. When her health drops low, she just becomes unkillable, which means that generally she's going to get a hit. And she does have a decent cannon of an A2 for a smack. She's also got a decent A1 with some good damage as well. Double hits if the enemies have got more than 50% health. So yeah, really good champion. She pairs up with Sinacia for an extra revive as well. So her and Sinacia together can be pretty deadly, especially earlier to mid-game. Let's get into the legendaries then. Take your pick, honestly. Trunda used to be the absolute goddess. The queen of the nuke, the hardest hitting champion in the game. And she's still extremely strong. Yeah, she's mainly used nowadays in Hydra. But with Live Arena, she's making a bit of a reappearance because you can't bring everything you want in Live Arena. So I've definitely taken a couple of hammers to the face from Trundas in Live Arena over the last week. And you almost forget how much damage she does. Like, she hits extremely hard once all of that stone skin's gone away and all that type of business. She just hits really hard, yeah? The reason for that is she's got 2 AoEs. Her A3 here is one of the best AoEs in the game. It hits twice if she doesn't stun and burn people. But if she does have enough accuracy, she'll stun and burn instead. So you kind of got 2 uses on the A3. Most people just use it as the absolute nuke, build her with 0 accuracy, and get her smacking people really hard. Her A2 is also extremely strong. So it's an attack 1 enemy. She then attacks all other enemies with a second hit. And basically she spikes damage based on the amount of damage she did on the first hit. So what's crazy with this is it almost does like a double multiplier. And it doesn't count as an AoE hit. So it actually hits everyone as if it was single targets. Means that stuff like Duchess passive doesn't do anything. Perfect Veil doesn't stop that damage. Yeah, because all of that works on AoE damage. So her A2 is really strong. And then her A1 is a double hit stun. She hits really hard. She's also got extremely high HP and survivability for a nuker. In fact, more than most HP-based champions. She's just kind of like that, flexing away. She's got the quads out. She's not going down easy. The Trunda's really cool. The next champion up is someone who basically started to rival the Trunda. And that is going to be someone who I use quite a lot in Live Arena, Hephraak. Hephraak is, I guess, Hephraak's tricky to use. Okay, so Harima straight counters Hephraak. Like hard counters Hephraak. And also, I guess, stuff like Stone Skin and the sheer tankiness of defenses right now has countered Hephraak as well. Similarly, it's countered Trunda. Like, people are having to bring champions that ignore defense or ignore Stone Skin or whatever if they're playing at the top level. So we're not seeing a lot of Hephraak in the top level in like plat resets. But we do see champions like Hephraak and Trunda making a reappearance in Live Arena. Because they bring something different. They bring a different element to their kits, which you can make use of. So Hephraak double hits on the A1 if he crits. And again, hits really hard. The A2 is an absolute smack. Places an extra hit on targets with less than 50% HP after the first hit. You have to hit at least one person over half health to get your double smack. You won't do the same level of damage if you're not doing a double smack. Each hit ignores 15% defense, so comes in as an absolute cannon. Cool thing with Hephraak is if someone else dies on your team, he'll just do that A2. He's like that. Don't worry, fellas. The A2's coming in, and I'm going to smack someone with it. It won't go on cooldown, and then he can do it again. So that's why he's so strong. You can actually bring someone as a bit of a bait champion. Maybe you bring that Nodgar in. Maybe you bring a Nodgar in since he's had his buff. Basically kills himself, kills someone of the enemy team, and then Hephraak comes in with the nuke. Oh, my lord. That would be amazing. So Hephraak is definitely a really strong champion, but as I say, can be countered by just a sheer tankiness of enemies or by stuff like Harima popping up. Also got this A3 with self-buffing, increased attack, increased crit rate. So you can actually build him 70% crit rate and then land the nuke. But you kind of need him 100% crit rate because he'll do this instantly whether you buffed it or not. So I build mine 100%, but you can go either way. But yeah, Hephraak, very strong. Next one up, still in this faction actually, we've got the Candy. Candy's got an obscenely strong A1 if he double hits. We'll get an extra hit if someone's under a buff. Yeah, so Duchess throws up that little wincy shield on herself. He's like that. You're next. Runs in there Waterboy style and double hits. Boink. Down she goes. Unless he gets a weak hit. But anyway, he has got some real good utility, again, as just smacking people up with this A1. He's got an A2, which is an AoE and an absolute smack. Also, if he kills someone, he gets an extra turn if he kills someone and he pulls down this ability here on the hunt. So the cool thing about this is you kill someone, maybe 2 or 3 if you're lucky, with the AoE, and then you run in and you slay someone with the A1 as well. So you're kind of getting double smacks going on. The A3 here, self-buff again. This one's increased attack, crit damage, speed, and veil. Self-buff champions are definitely useful for live arena because you cannot guarantee the champions you want to get through the pick and ban phase are going to get through. We're seeing a lot more Ragash. We're seeing a lot more Hephraak and Candy. People that buff themselves to do their damage. So this is actually really cool. Only thing with this is he doesn't get an extra turn after he does it, which he kind of needs. So he kind of like self-buffs and just stands there like smiling, hoping he gets to another go. That's not what we need from you, Candy. That's not what we need. We need you to just go straight away. It does have a passive, which makes him one of the most tanky nukers in the game. Yeah, so you won't need to be running him in Stone Skin or anything because basically as soon as he's under a veil or perfect veil, does this with his self-buff, or you can run him with someone like a Duchess or whatever. As soon as he's under that perfect veil, he does 40% more damage and he receives 40% less damage. But he will also get the perfect veil if an enemy's turn meter is filled. So if Arbiter or Sifi or any of those champions does a turn meter fill, he's like that. Fine, I'll have my veil, thanks, and I'll take 40% less damage. And you cannot steal that away. So it's actually this is one of the best nuking passives in the game. He's got arena battle damage. So yeah, Candy also top tier. Like we've got 3 top tier legendaries we're talking about there. But they're not why I'm going to be pulling my shards. This is why I'm going to be pulling my shards. Someone probably one of my most wanted, not my actual most wanted, because I really would like Taras and Marishka. But Georgid is an absolute beast. He counters a lot of the arena meta. Yeah, so we've got an A1 double hitter. A chance to do it again. Just a straight 30%. I'm going to go for it again, fellas. What do you reckon? And he starts doing his laugh if he starts whacking Rotus in the face. Really good counter to Rotus, this guy. His A2, AoE, decreases turn meter of enemies, can't be resisted. By the way, it hits really freaking hard as well. Gives it an unkillable buff if he kills someone, which you'd hope he would. And then his A3 ignores strengthen, stone skin, unkillable, block damage, increased defense. All of the defensive buffs. Yeah, if you've got net crit protecting someone, net crit's like that, you're not killing my guy. Georgid walks up, he's like, he's absolutely dead. None of the things he's doing matter to me. If you've got that stone skin ultimate Death Knight standing there, thinking he's going to protect the whole team, Georgid's like, take a rest, ultimate Death Knight. Take a dive. Yeah, this ability here is crazy and it hits really hard as well. Then got this passive 50-50 chance to just ignore 50% of the enemy's defense from each hit placed by this champion. I've not seen that before, actually. So it's a 50% chance it happens to ignore 50% of the target's defense for each hit. So when this is going off, I guess you've got multiple chances to roll that. I don't know, honestly. I guess you do, though. So, bam. Georgid the Breaker is on my wish list, and I will be pulling Void Shards tomorrow. So there you go, guys. I've been Hell Hades. It's actually a really good ×10, I think, if you're going to get involved. I'll see you later.